Well, hi and welcome to Glitch 2600. Who am I? Well, I'm Brian, your friendly host through all things geekery. If you need to know what geekery is, then you might be on the wrong channel, but basically it's anything to do with computers, photography, technology. If you want to know about it, we'll get you the answer. And you're here for a Glitch Byte. That comes up. Part of our Vlogmas 2020. First, what's Vlogmas 2020? Well, if you go into our playlist, this is day 18. We have day 1 and we explain it. It's just a way for us content creators to bring you something new every day in December. And for me, that was our Glitch Bytes, which are bite-sized information of tips and tricks that you can normally digest in under 10 minutes. And today we're going to talk about those external hard drives. You know, those little enclosures that, if I grab it, look kind of like this. You might have the bigger version, which I have over here on the desk, that has little spinning hard drives in it. Now, they have ones called SSD. Those are solid state drives. They don't have a spinning disk inside of them, so they're less susceptible to crashing and shaking and all that while they're running. But they're also faster. But they tend to cost a little bit more. It's the same that's in those memory cards. So when you have these 2 terabyte drives or these 3 terabyte drives, they're these little spinning disks, and while they're going, they're susceptible to shock and a bunch of other stuff. But a lot of times people assume that they're dead just because all of a sudden they'll plug them in and it doesn't show up on their desktop, doesn't show up on they're not readable anymore. Well, that doesn't mean they're actually dead. Even when they are, that still doesn't mean we can't get data off of them. So one like this, when it goes bad, it's normally this interface. You can try a different cable first, but it's normally this interface that's gone bad. If I were to hold that up, maybe it'll focus. You can get the idea. It really wants to see me. So, get it to focus. Nope, doesn't matter. You get the idea. There's a little interface on there. You can kind of see it. Sorry. And with that, when that goes bad, you can normally kind of bust it out. Now, what's bad is you'll look at this and there's nothing that looks like any screw holes or anything like that. Sometimes they'll hide it underneath these labels. Like if I feel right here, if I were to pull this up, there's a little screw right in the middle of this that if I pulled off, this would just pop right off. And so look for that. You just kind of push hard on the label and you'll find right there. If I were to pop that open. Now, this is a good drive, so I don't need to. But another drive I popped open, because a friend of mine wasn't able to read, theirs. It looked a little bit more, if I pop these off, whoops, it looked a little bit more like this. It was a solid drive. It was all together as one unit. And with that, this piece was in there and there was no screws. So it was just held in by pressure. So those get a little bit more tricky. I used something like this, which is a dental tool. So you can get little dental picks at the store, or if you're really good friends with a dentist. Come on, focus. If you're good friends with a dentist, you can get something like that. And I was able to work that down the side and get underneath till I could crack it open because there was little holders in there. And once I got through there, I mean, you could use a Dremel too. You just got to think about how big a drive is. The drive inside is about that big. So if you look at it in there, there wasn't much room. I could have Dremeled a little bit, but you get the idea. Once I got past there, this was sitting inside and it had this sitting on it, this little adapter that had a USB-C on it. So if I hold that up, you see there's a little USB-C on it. Well, with that plugged in, even then, there was a bunch of this little silver tape on it, covering it up so it looked like it was all one unit. You can kind of see how it still has that tape right there. So it looked like it was solid. At that point, you can take this same thing or an X-Acto knife, cut down, and you can pull this interface off because this is what was actually bad. I was able to push it at an angle and kind of see that it was doing that, but all I had to do was pop it off. Once I popped it off, it had a standard interface on the back. So That's just a standard SATA interface. Well, if I pop on over to this cam, maybe, and we bring this up, and we go, hey, iDevice. You can kind of see, sorry, this is a mess, that I have a device like this that can take different size hard drives with that SATA connector down there. And that SATA connector then has a USB, has a power, so that's power, and then USB that can go plug into another drive or into my machine directly. So once I do that, I just pop this down inside and then hit the power. You'll notice it'll start to spin up. Now, once it spins up, the nice thing is, if I were to switch over to my screen share now, we'll see on my machine, we'll pop this up, and I'll have a nice new drive on the side called LaCie. That's the drive that is a friend of mine's, and it's their data. So I'm able to read all through this, and it works just fine. If I were to click on anything, it would come up and show data over here. That's really great because now what I can do with that drive is I could turn around and pop it into one of these. For 30 bucks, as opposed to spending another 60 to 100 bucks on a drive, I could go out and get a new enclosure, 2.5, to put that in. And you can find these cheaper from Amazon too, but this is a nice high-speed USB 3.0, external drive. Now, if you have one of those big drives, you can still get an enclosure for that. That's a 3.5. Or you can get an adapter to make this smaller drive fit in a 3.5, inch one. But here, you can turn around and get one of these. You pop it inside that drive. It'll have that one of those adapters on the end too, and it'll fit in there. You close it up, and you're good to go. For 30 bucks, you have your external drive back. So, having said that, let me pop back over here. As you can see, we have that back up and working. And I'm just going to, eject that drive so that it's not being read. And then I'm just going to pop it out. But see, having a reader like that, even if I would have bought that enclosure for $30, I could have just tested it. You don't need a reader like this. This is essentially just an open enclosure. That's what the thing you saw me pop it down into. So with that, you can take these, pop them in there, and be good to go. But let's say this isn't reading at all. After that, there is another trick. As long as it's a spinning disk, this will not work ever on an SSD one, on one that doesn't have a spinning with that gyroscope inside. That gyroscopic, it has little platters on the inside and little readers. Think of it like a record player, but multiple. If you could have a record player that had a record player that had a record player, that's how they work. And there's a little reader head. So that's why it's susceptible to jarring. If you were to hit it, it could hop. But now imagine if it came down and took a little piece out. You wouldn't want to take your record player and scratch it across unless you were trying to destroy it. Being a DJ, you wouldn't do that with your data though. You wouldn't want to scratch it up. So with those, when it's a spinning one, you can do another trick. That's a last digit one if you didn't want to send it off to a data recovery site where it could cost anywhere from $300 to $3,000 to get your data back. If that wasn't worth it to you, but you really want to try, take a drive like this, pop it in an anti-static bag. That's those ones that are kind of grayish. Pop it in there, throw it in your freezer for about 8 hours. Anywhere from 8 hours to 12 hours. You can let it go overnight. You can let it go the next day if you want, but really about 8 hours. And then pop it out for a good 5 minutes and put it in to that same enclosure. You won't have much time, so make sure you have another drive ready to copy data to. But a lot of times, that's a little known tip and trick where it'll spin up long enough for you to copy data off. So make sure you go to exactly where your most important data is, grab that stuff first, because as it heats up, it won't work. I have some theories on why that works, but that's another talk for another day. But those two trips, a lot of times it's not the drive that's bad. When it is, try the freezer technique. Otherwise, it's not the drive that's bad. It's the interface, and you can replace that interface just by opening it up. So don't throw that drive away. Save your money. we don't need to add extra to the landfill any more than we already do. So that's my tip. That's my Glitch Byte for Vlogmas Day 18. If you liked that, which I know, if you're here and you're still watching, you're here, you enjoyed it. Please go ahead and come to our YouTube page and subscribe. Just go to that link down below, or hey, if you're on your computer, you can hover over with your phone, set to camera mode over that little QR code, and it'll come up and say, hey, you want to go there? You click yes, and then click the bell to be notified, and then you'll hear about when we are going live. It'll notify you and let you know every time we go live. It'll also let you know when we plan one. So like we have a geek out probably planned for this Sunday, where you can jump on and we'll answer your questions live on the air. And you'll see that when you're on our YouTube page. You can also come and follow us on Facebook. We'd love to have you there. We'll have a happy hour also this Sunday, but you'll see that anyway. Otherwise, I had a great time talking with you guys. We're going to be covering Backblaze Backup tomorrow as part of our backup series. So you'll see that, and then on Sunday we'll probably try to tie it all together. And it's probably part of that geek out, but if there's a tip or something you'd like to know about, please just let us know. We'll see it in the comments. Otherwise, I had a great time talking with you guys.